Hello, good evening, welcome, good evening. My name is Obinda Akon. I want to share with you today what I call can you survive the loan or the debt mess and get to the next stage of your business? Can you survive the debt stage, the loans, the financial difficulties? Can you survive that as a business person? And can you get to the next stage of the business as an entrepreneur? Uh, Today has been, I think, a bit busy day for us, and just got here, and I want to share what I think may help somebody who is doing business, who is an entrepreneur, who is going through some kind of difficulties. The kind of business that you start, whether it's construction business, whether it's a project-based business, depending on the kind of understanding that you have in terms of finances, depending on the kind of financial knowledge that you have, to decide the kind of difficulties that you will go through if you start your business. And what I've seen about the structure of our economy and the difficulties that people go through in trying to build a business, there's so many. Generally, the financial knowledge of us is weak. If you doubt it, go see the kind of cars that we drive on our road as a people. This is an economy that we don't produce so many things. We don't manufacture a lot of things. Majority of our people go through a lot of financial difficulties. Yet, if you go through our roads, if you're in a car and you see the kind of cars that we are driving, and you see the kind of houses that we have built and put up, yet you see the kind of productivity that we have as a people, you see why our financial difficulties are many. And so generally the financial knowledge is very little, and we carry the same thing into starting businesses. And I dare say that people who start businesses, most often businesses that chase projects from government and institutions, you must have very strong financial discipline, or you will push yourself into financial difficulties, and sometimes it can be that much disastrous. Some people also start businesses the people who go into lending, uh, microfinance kind of businesses, financial institutions stuff. They also go through a lot of difficulties. I think that these two businesses are driven by greed. I think that they are driven by greed because generally people, contractors, the things that they focus on is just the money. And so somebody introduces you to a project. Almost everybody is a contractor. They say that, and they hardly understand what is happening. They hardly understand that you need a lot of technical understanding to run a construction or a project business. We hardly don't know. And so your friend introduces you to a project, and they tell you that, oh, this one there's mobilization, or there's no mobilization, but you have to pay this money. Then somebody else will link you to a project, and because of greed, because the moment you overlook the skill that you need to run a particular business, you are driven by greed. The same thing with the people who are into lending. Majority of these organization companies are going through a lot of stress and difficulties because very few people think that a lot of expertise, a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge is required to run a very good financial institution and give loans and collect them back with a good interest rate, for the people who you are giving the loans to survive, and for your business to survive. So you see it, these two areas, they are scattered everywhere. We are not the people running so much into commercial farming, into manufacturing, into process, into building proper retail systems and structures. No, we are the ones quick. We will go where the money can come quickly. And that shows that our financial understanding is weak. And that's why most of us will get into these difficulties. So when you happen to have, started the business with very little knowledge, these are the kind of businesses that you enter. Construction contract, you go and borrow money and then you go into it, and before you see it, everything else is in a mess. Or you go and start lending business, microfinance, susu. You don't understand the structures, you don't understand the criteria, and the next time you see it, everything else is in a difficult situation. You have dug a hole that you probably would take about 5-10 years to get out. And so, can you survive this when you have created it? Can you? Most people don't. Most people still continue to dig the hole because they're still being driven by the greed. You got into the situation by greed. Got into the situation because somebody told you that if they can get you the project, and you have to go and borrow and do this, and somewhere along the line there was a choke, and everything else went down the drain. Because these are institutions, these are businesses that you need a lot of expertise to run these kind of businesses and to make profit. And any little thing can put you in a lot of mess. The contractor, you are putting a lot of money into somebody's project. Tomorrow the person gets up to say that, listen, I'm not happy with this, I'm not going to pay you. Or somebody else along the line, your party loses, another person comes, they say that, listen, we are even going to audit all these projects, we don't care. And you have gone to these microfinance people who are also driven by greed, and they give you loan for 5%, 10% a month. Usually these are the people who are causing a lot of mess. And this, if you meet a lot of business people with serious financial difficulties, most of them, they are contractors or people who are running projects for institutions, bulk business, and then those who are in the financial sector, they are also driven by fear, because they are also interested in the high percentages that they are giving to these businesses. Because any business that you are giving 10% loan to, what you have set, the stage that you have set for them is that they cannot pay. And those are the realities. Now, they comfort themselves with the fact that they can take collateral. You take collateral doesn't mean anything. If you take a lot of them and you are set, the time that somebody else, wants his money and you cannot get the money to pay, you cannot set the collateral as quickly as you wanted. So all these institutions, based on the structure of our economy, are driven by greed, and not by expertise, not by skill, not by precision, not by knowledge. Most of it. Very few people are in this kind of industries who are very much informed in how to build such businesses on very little percentages of profit, and to continue to do all the right things for the business to grow. And the business that you're doing, that you're not growing in scale, but you're always focused on getting money anyway, anyhow, will end up crashing and putting you into the debt situation. And so if you have yourself in a situation where you cannot pay the loans, you are stressed, you are in serious problems, it's a stage. And I'm just explaining how you got to that stage. You got to that stage because you were inexperienced, you were not that much calculating, you were driven by greed, and you underestimated the skill that somebody would have to run such businesses, And most of them, I said that they are in the contractor kind of business, construction project, those who take big loans, put it into one project and wait for somebody to give them fat check, and we do all kind of deals. Or those who are giving money to people and expecting them to go and trade with it and come and pay them big percentage. These are the people who usually find themselves in serious financial difficulties. Debt and loans, business debt and loans, and sometimes even personal debt and loans, they are as a result of mismanagement. They come as a result of lack of right decisions. They come because you were focused on something that you did. You were doing something that you had no idea what you were doing. And money, loans, they are volatile. They are dangerous element. It is good, but if you don't understand it, it will put you in a situation that it can cripple your drive to build business. It can kill everything that you ever wanted to do as a business person. And majority of us may have gone through that, and most people don't even get back up. Because they still have not convinced themselves that it takes skill, and it takes knowledge, it takes practice, it takes understanding, it takes the right ethics to build a business. And so if you're still in that situation and you're still convincing yourself in practicing the very things that made you fall in that situation in the first place, then it means that you are not awake, and it will be very difficult for you to get back up and in building your business. So you need proper financial knowledge to survive this stage. And so you have to come back to the table to say that, listen, these are the mistakes that I made. I made these huge errors. That's why I have this debt. That's why I have these loans that I cannot pay. I am going to decide to say that, okay, I'm going to do the right things. I'm going to do the things opposite to those that push me into this situation. So I'm going to try to be honest. I'm going to try to be credible. I'm going to try to be patient and start to require, demand or find the right skill for me to understand how a business is built. Construction could be a good business if you're doing it rightly. Lending could be a good business if you're doing it rightly. But if you're in construction business, for instance, and you're the one giving you all these monies and paying bribes and looking for connections and things like that, you are going to find it difficult for you to build the right skills that will be able to get you out of this mess. The next one is if you are into debt lending and this kind of business, you must also know that if you are giving loans to people and you are taking 10%, 5% kind of percentages, they cannot, even if they are good people, they will struggle to get those monies back to you. Those are the facts, because if you're taking 10% from somebody every month, they have to make 120% for them to pay you the principal that you gave them, and for them to pay you another 120% on what you gave them. Very few people can do business that way. Well, manage the money well for them to do this and still get profit to grow their business. And the fact is that human beings are human beings. If they are into it with their time, with their energy, they are looking at them also getting some kind of profit to keep going. So it won't happen, and that's why. Yes, self-development. Yes, and that's why most people will find themselves in this kind of trouble. And so, if you happen to be in this kind of businesses, you have to strategize and rethink through your strategy and re-engineer. Go back to the table and see the things that you have to acquire for you to build a good business, because there's no need to waste a lot of time building a business when you are not developing the right skill in building a business. So look at that, because we are coming. I dare say that majority of us don't have financial skill and financial knowledge. We don't. We are not coming from that kind of background, whether it's from the family, whether it's from the culture, whether it's from anywhere. We don't have it, because our choices prove that we don't understand what it takes to build wealth. We don't understand what it takes to build money. So most of us, if you give us money, we will lose it. And so that's why we lose the loan. So the loan that you went for the project, you don't have the skill, or you didn't have the skill to handle that loan. So to push you into a ditch. The thing is that it's a loan, it's somebody's money. They will come for it, and they are coming for it with the cost. And you agreed with a percentage, they will come for it, well, by all means. And so, because we have weak financial skill, and we went for that loan. Some people say that don't go for loan. I think that based on the kind of percentage that we have, and the kind of understanding that we have, and the kind of culture and the kind of business that we have, I think that after this while, you may, I think that you have to have the right skill for you to go for a loan, for you to build a business. You must understand what you're doing before you go for loan. And so don't start any business going for loan, because it will kill your drive, and it may even end up, you may give up on your dream in owning a business. So if you're not really skilled, because it's so much high, very few places pay this kind of percentages. Even the commercial banks, they still charge around 30% per year. It's not doable. It's complicated, it's tough, and along the chain, anybody at all can screw you. So if you want to prevent yourself from getting into this situation, don't go for it. Try to do with what you have, or try to agree with somebody who will just give you the money and maybe not charge any interest at all, because by all means you will lose that money. That's the fact. If it's a startup, you're going to lose that money. And if they're charging you a lot on that money, you are going to lose it. You may pay them the principal, but anything accrued, it will struggle. Not because you're a bad person, but because it takes a lot of expertise. You see, that's why people still say that they are starting banks, and they have no idea what they are getting themselves into. It takes a lot of expertise, a lot of good management skill, a lot of ethics to build a bank. You don't just go and take anybody money and say that I've started microfinance and you think that is going. You have the moment you are not astute in terms of finance, the moment you don't have the right management skill, the moment you don't have the right technical understanding in terms of finance, and you go to start this kind of industries, you have begin your end like that. And so all the woes that you hear around, it's not because people are bad, or it's because people don't have the right financial knowledge. And so can you survive the debt stage? The thing is that don't kill yourself if you are in that kind of situation, whether it's a business debt or whether it's a personal debt. You created it. Don't convince yourself that you are so much intelligent and it's somebody's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's your fault. You created it. Whether you gave the money to somebody or nobody can be held responsible, because after all, you signed for it. So all the mistakes that I have made in terms of that, I cannot blame anybody. I have to own up to say that, yes, I didn't understand what I was going through. I didn't understand what I picked. I didn't understand the numbers. I didn't even understand the business that I was doing. That's why I'm in this situation. I have to understand that. Then I may have to know, what do I need to understand this thing? What knowledge do I need? What expertise do I need? What do I have to have for me to handle, if it's 20 cities or if it's 30 cities, for me to grow it and possibly even pay that debt and get to the next stage of the business. Don't run away. Don't run away from anybody you go. You have to do that, because if you run away, you'll never get that skill to handle such a difficult situation. It's a difficult situation. Some of them will threaten you. Some of them will take you to court. So in your country, police can even come in. Policeman is coming. You didn't dupe it, or you didn't dupe the man. It's just an agreement. You are not able to handle your part. The policeman will say, Master, people will come, but don't be scared. It's a stage. You have to handle it, and you have to convince yourself that, listen, I don't know it. I didn't know it. That's why I got into this situation. So what are the things that I must know now? You must understand that money, if you pick somebody's loan, if you pick somebody's money, it's not yours. So you must have the right skill to manage it and to grow it. If you lose it, explain to the person, go for some time. Some of them will get angry, some of them will insult you, some of them will never talk to you again. Some of them will destroy you, some of them will talk back, some of them will go and lie about you. Never worry about those. It's part of business. And the thing is that the fact that you were even courageous to start a business, many people will not have that courage to start a business in the first place. So you started that. And usually, if you are that much intelligent, you will not start business, I tell you. If you're that wise, you will not start business with the kind of knowledge and the kind of expertise that you started with. So it's better to start, even if you are idiot, if you're ignorant, if you don't know what you're doing, than to stay there, being crippled by fear. So it takes courage, and sometimes courage may be uninformed courage, but you still started it. So own up to the debt. Don't run away. Meet the people that you owe. They could be anything. They could call you and insult you, all the things. Some of the banks are going through that. But I think that leadership should be shown, and whoever started those businesses must stand up to say that, yes, I created this mess, but I'll handle it. Even if the business collapses, even if the business goes down, you can use that experience to start another one. So don't run away. Maybe you're a contractor. Maybe you went for some loan somewhere. Whatever. People have all kind of. You have no idea the kind of difficulties that people are having in terms of money, especially business people, because the structure of our economy is tough. And then we are coming from a background that we don't have that much financial skill, that financial knowledge. That's the fact. If you're doubting it, go and get any contractor who has won a contract, and finish the contract, or they pay him mobilization. The first thing that you see, he'll go and buy a car, buy a nice house, maybe marry another girl, or splash the money, go to Dubai, go to America. He has no way to. They just gave him mobilization, which is loan actually. Sometimes they even guarantee it. But that's what they do. So people don't have a proper understanding of finances. If you doubt it, go through our town. You see how many uncompleted houses that we have. You see the kind of houses people are building with very little money. It does not prove that we are wealthy. It just shows that we don't know how to manage finances well. Because if you know how to manage money, you will grow it bit by bit, and you use it where it will come back quickly and multiply. We don't know that. That's why when you walk through our street, you see nice cars, and you wonder, what do these people do to get the money that they have? And if you start to ask these questions, they say that you're jealous. You're not jealous. It's just proof that people have very little financial knowledge. So survive this stage is a long stage. Don't run away. You made mistakes, admit it, and understand. Weigh yourself. Understand the level of financial understanding, the financial skill that you had that created that mess, and own up to it. Develop your emotions. Don't get angry, don't cry, don't weep, don't be bitter, don't be sad, don't curse yourself. It's a stage. And own up to say that every mess that I have created, I will solve every one of them. And you would have to you would have to also convince yourself to patch up all the people that you have offended, because the people work and they gave you their money. And the organizations that you took money from, patch up. But sometimes you may have to go and ask them, the ones that you can pay and the ones that you think are over you. Sometimes maybe you owe somebody 2 cedis. Sometimes the reality is there is not there. So tell the person, please, I can pay maybe 1 cedi. Can we agree so that I can solve this and go on? Because it's a mess. And usually when you're in a financial difficulties, even if you are getting money, because you are in the negative, the money that is coming, even though the business is making money, the business is also, but the business is making money, but the money is coming to pay this debt. And you have to cover all this debt to a stage before the business starts to make anything that is positive. And it's difficult. It's difficult. And sometimes you can meet somebody who has been in all these businesses for years and they still work to correct the mistakes that they made in terms of finances earlier, the earlier part of their businesses. And if you are in the kind of business that they pay you bulk, projects, construction, contract, those kind of things, you must be skilled. And you must convince yourself that I'm going to learn to practice well and be ethical. Because that's the only way that you start to understand how to run a business and run it well. If you buy that deception that all that I want is money, you are just ditching. And it doesn't matter who you know who is doing all these kind of things. No, it's your part, it's you. I think that if you want to get back from all this, get out from all this mess, you must get to the basis. And the basis of running business is that you start to treat the things that must be treated fairly. It's green. If it's green, it's green. If it's yellow, it's yellow. Get to that stage, because it's difficult for you to solve the loans and the debt with dishonesty. It's difficult because it's the dishonesty that's got us into the trouble in the first place. It's the dishonesty. Most problems, most financial difficulties that we have as a business people, the debt, the loans, is because we were dishonest in a way. We didn't know the skill level that we had, or we didn't understand the industry, or we did not make the right decisions. If we were that much up to beat, we would have maybe stopped the transaction, or would have made the right decisions. So you are in the proof that all these difficulties are there. The proof that there are practices that you didn't understand. So I would say that you are not fully in charge of that. So if you want to get back from it, then start to practice what is right, and decide that there are skills that I must have for me to get back on the right path. And I don't run away. Talk to the people, even if they don't agree, even if they beat you, they slap you, as we call it, occupational hazard. If you're a politician, they will insult you on the radio, whether you like it or not. And any little boy can challenge what you say. That's the kind of job that you have taken. If you are, if you're a policeman, you are on the sun. Those who are directing the traffic, whether you like it or not, that's the job that you opted for. So that's with business. If you're doing business and you go for somebody's loan and you're not paying, they'll insult you. That's not the time to let your ego flare. Your ego, you must not let it, go up. No, you must just know how to handle yourself and say that yes, I created this mess, and I have to solve this. So that is one of it. And the other thing is that you must also understand that maybe the industry that you are in, you must add some other things to it, because a business is good business when you have proper cash flow. Any business that you're doing that you're pumping the money, and 6 months you are not getting any money out of it, is a dangerous business for startups and for people who don't have a lot of allowance in terms of finances. And that's the difficulty. You would rather also want to look at industry or another form of business that you're seeing money every day, where you are working somewhere and you're doing something and they're paying you every day. The thing about it is that you can have millions working as a contractor. If they're paying you 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, 7 months, you and the other provision shop woman, the provision shop woman may be far more better than you, because they are seeing money every day, and their pressure will be low, even if the margins are weak. So you don't have to go and borrow big interest rates and go and work for somebody, and 6 months they have not paid you. By the time you see it, you are in difficulty. And you see, the thing about it is that it's because people always have some kind of ways of adding variations and changing prices. They think that they are in business. No, you can be doing this for 20 years and you have not learned the trade. You have not learned the trade. The moment you start to understand the trade, you see that, okay, I would rather go for a project that they are paying me every 2 weeks or every month, even if it's small. That's why you start to learn the business well. That's why you start to understand. And those people who are able to structure the business well in terms of the cash flow, they are most often the ones who are able to get themselves out of the financial difficulties. But the other ones who you see them always in trouble, and some of them will just die in it because they still are fooling themselves that this is how business is done. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have told themselves that this is business. They believe that is business. They have no clue what they are doing. If you don't have a lot of financial leverage, that's not the kind of business for you, because it will put you in bad situation. So look at can you survive? You have to survive this stage. You have to be bold. You have to be tough. You have to be strong. You have to strategize. You have to redefine yourself. You have to look at your values. You have to look at the things that you stand for. You have to say no to a lot of things and say yes to the things that will get you structure and get you skilled in how to build this kind of businesses, and possibly look at other businesses that will bring you some money somewhere, and be focused. If you're in that situation, be focused to solve it. And don't go and blame any demon for the problem. It's your ignorance, it's your difficulty, it's your lack of skill, lack of precision, that lack of financial understanding that got you into that situation. So when you are in this kind of situation, that's not the time to go and give money to somebody else to tell you that, oh, once I have this situation, it means that there's a demon somewhere chasing me. Usually it's not any demon anyway. It's just that you don't know, or you didn't know what you were doing. That's why you got into this situation. So you must go and learn. And the fact is that the money that you are giving to somebody to solve it for you, that money you can take and go and pay somebody. And if, let's say, you owe a lot, start to look at the few ones, the small ones that you can do something about it. Because the fact is that if you owe somebody 100 cedis, and even if it's 3 cedis that you can pay them, you start to get confidence that after all, I'm not that weak. And once you are in this kind of situations, don't go and use the money for other things. Start to also at least own up a bit to you as a person, a bit to you as somebody who is trying to, because the first person that you deceive, which is more dangerous, is yourself. Sometimes you think that we are deceiving people, but it's ourselves. The more we start to be honest with ourselves, the better that we are as humans. And so if you owe the 100, start. If it's 3 cedi that you have, maybe go and take 2 cedi and go and reduce the debt. But you still must have a strategy. You cannot also use everything to go and pay the debt. Then how do you grow the business? Because the business must also grow to pay the debt. So yes, the pressure will be there, but you must also take care of that which is bringing in the revenue. And that is a difficult situation. So maybe you have projects now. Before you had nothing. Now you have a business which is bringing in something small. Everything that the business brings must not go and pay the debt. There is something that you must also use to read. Your focus is to pay the debt, yes, but maybe you are getting 10 cedi. Maybe keep 2 cedi. Send it back to the business that is bringing you something now, so that you can still be paying the debt bit by bit and still be having some kind of business. Because if you go and pay everything with what is coming in, how do you pay the next one? How do you pay the next one? And most of us have been in that kind of situation, because when you're starting business, nobody tells you what is out there. Nobody. And you hardly would you hear people share their stories in terms of the financial difficulties and the financial pain that they have endured. So if you didn't get close to somebody, you may think that everybody else is perfect. No, none is perfect. They may look perfect, but go and talk to them and see. So there's something, yeah. And so none. Don't think that everybody is looking fantastic, perfect, collected. No, they all have gone through a lot of things like that. Especially those who didn't know much, like me. Those who were not coming from that background where somebody taught them a lot, and then you happen to have gone into this kind of industry, because not every business starts with this kind of problems. But if you go into construction, into projects, or you go and start these financial institutions, these two industries, you have to have expertise. You must understand it. You must have structure. You must have discipline. You must understand, because a typical, let me give you now, if I were to go for a project now, based on all the things that we have gone through and where we think we understand, I will look for a project that the man or the institution that is giving the project understand the project, and those who are supervising the project have direct connection. Their interest is in the well-being of the project. They must be able to prove to us that they have the finances to pay the project. The next one is that I'm not going to take a project that I'm spending so much before the contract is signed. And possibly you have to agree that every other kololo that is coming out of that, you want to stay out of it. Those who have done a lot of work, they have a lot of money, can go into that. But if you are starting and you don't understand it, the more you compromise on these things, the faster you'll be in trouble. So if anybody is talking to you about you have 200,000, you come, let's go and give 50,000 to this guy, he'll give us a project which is 2 million, and you use 1 million to do the project, and then we share 1 million. That's all. That is a bait. Okay, you must weigh yourself. Do I understand the finances? Do I understand the client? Do they have the passion to make sure that their project is done and done well? If anybody in the streamline is asking you for cut and kickback and percentages, they don't believe in the project. They don't like it. It's the reason. It's the money. Okay, and so if you get locked, you're screwed forever. And don't forget, the margins are not that huge. Construction margins are not that huge. So if you're taking 10% off before you even start the project, and they are going to pad up for you, because don't forget, if you start the project too, engineers will steal. Your everybody in between will be lying. Don't forget. So there are a lot of losses. So, and then other things will come up. Government institutions will chase you on that too. So don't just assume that because they present the numbers to you, it means that everything is perfect. It's not like that. But if you're unskilled, if you're unschooled in that, you just pick a lot of things face value, and you look at the figures and you say, in 6 months' time, if you finish the project, you'll be a millionaire. People have done that, and they are in difficulties. They lost all their money, they lost all their investment, they lost all their savings, because they went into something that they had. Any business that you want to get into, if you don't understand it, take time to learn the business before you get into it. Because every trade, there's a skill, there's a secret, there's something that you must know. So if you are green, don't go and take a lot of load on your neck. It will be difficult. And don't forget, all the human beings who are talking to you every day, a lot of them, if you are talking to 10 people on the project, 8 are not being honest with you. Okay? Especially those areas that they're asking for a lot of money. A lot of them are just giving you math. And every one of them knows the president. And every one of them knows the minister. Every one of them knows a big man somewhere who will help you to take the to get your payment as soon as you finish the work. Every one of them. So there are a lot of them who will come and lie to you, right? And you are the one. If you stick out your neck to go for the loan, you are the one responsible. They are not. So believe that you have a say. And as long as you can stay out of this environment, if you are starting, stay out. If you want to go into this kind of environment, you must go skilled. You must go with understanding of the business. You must go knowing that you understand this terrain, or stay out. Always stay in areas that you understand, at least, and go gradually. Don't be so much in haste trying to make a million when you are very green. And that is what gets us into trouble. So let's say they say microfinance. If you want to do that, go gradually. Understand it. And don't charge 5-10% on a loan. 2-3%, 1%. And develop the skill. Because what you really need is the skill development in that business. To understand what it takes to leverage. So if you are driven by the greed, you are blind. And that blindness will push you into the ditch. And it will take years for you to get back up. Okay, to take years. So what do you do to get to the next stage? I said that start to be honest to yourself, reduce the greed, become more interested in the fact that you want to learn, and practice with the best of character. These things will start to let you think rightly, and be patient, because it takes a lot of time to build a business, and to structure and to get what it takes to build a business. It doesn't just happen like that. People have been in industries who are handling millions now. Most of them have been in such industries for years. And you just got into it 2 months, you want to become a millionaire. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. So build a business well. If you start to convince yourself that it's the right thing to do, and know the industry, every industry, and what it takes to succeed. And you must weigh yourself to know, do I have what it takes to be in this kind of industry? Every industry. And for me, any business that you are looking at a lot of capital, and it takes a lot of time for the capital to come back, it takes a lot of time for the money to come back, and it comes in bulk, and that you're going to credit money to do that, is dangerous. You must really have some level of understanding, some level of expertise to really be good in that kind of business. You must. So all the difficulties, go and sample the businesses that have a lot of difficulty. You will see the majority of them are in this kind of category. They are driven by greed, and they don't care about the skill that they must develop. They don't care about ethics, and they think that they are going to make a killing in the next 1 month. No. You don't need those. You've got to build from where you are, and you must know that you're going to build skill. You're going to build to understand the finances. And if you have created the problem, don't run away. Don't change your address. Don't change the business. Own up the trouble that you have created, and give people timelines. And you're going to fail several times with the timelines that you give, because you are in a mess. Okay, so to the ones, agree with the list that you can, and convince yourself that you're going to do this with the best of what you know, and you're going to learn. You're going to keep to learn, and don't quit, because at this stage where you are in this problem, where you are not able to service the loans, you are not able to pay your debt, that's the stage that other problems start to also pop up. People have gone in through business difficulties, debt everywhere, and then the family is in big trouble. They start to get health challenges. Sometimes government is chasing them. All kind of things will happen when there is this kind of problem. But become strong, and keep your head up, and know that the next stage can come if you start to double your steps in learning, and trying to get into industries where you can manage the cash well. Because the thing about business is that if the cash is not in your control, you don't have a business. If you cannot predict how much is coming in every month, and it's really coming in, you have something else, not the one that you think you have. It may not be that a business. Because somebody else is making inflow every month, and they can plan with it. Now yourself, you have to go and give somebody some envelope before they even sign the check. That is not a business that you can plan with. You can predict it. You cannot, and that is why you become measurable, and that's why you become, uh, you eventually become a beggar, having put your own money in a business and having gone to borrow. Now, for them to pay you, you have to cry, weep, beg, go and see everybody before they pay you. That's not the kind of business you want to spend your life doing. You must have control. You must have uh, power to at least predict when the money is coming. You must do that. You must structure the business that way, or you don't have one. Or you don't have one. So, my name is Obin Dalko. I'm talking about, can you survive the mess that you have created, the debt, the loan, and how can you get to the next stage? And I said that generally our financial knowledge as a people is weak, so we carry that into our business. Very few have proper financial foundation, and if you don't have financial foundation, it means that you cannot even handle the very money that you have made. You cannot. How much more the loan that you didn't work for, and which is coming with interest. So when you went for that without any scale, any development, any foundation, you automatically create mess. And so now you are in the mess. How do you correct it? You have to know that you got into the mess because you didn't know what you were doing. So now hopefully you want to go back to the drawing board and start to ask yourself, what didn't I know? And what do I know now? And who can help me with proper understanding to get out of this situation or this mess? And then you must know that you must practice with the best of values. And you should understand that the industry that you are in, if you are not well prepared for it, it will also push you. So you must decide whether you are going to continue to be in that industry, which I think we should not. You should rather look or structure it differently, or you should rather look at industries that you have control, not the ones that you are begging everybody every time. That's not business. That's something else. A business is not always begging somebody to give you a project or begging somebody to pay you, begging somebody for loan. It's not good. It's not a business. It's something else. And that's where the problem is. So don't run away from it, and stay and solve it, and never cry. And it is not somebody's problem, it's your problem. And the devil is not responsible for it. It's your own ignorance and your own greed that got you into that. And you can solve it if you stop this ignorance, you stop this greed, and you start to say that I am responsible and I can solve this and I will solve this. And if any institution is money with you, talk to them and never be scared of where they take you. It's business. It's business. It's challenges, it's difficulty, it's crazy, but it's business. And so a lot of business people start with very little understanding, very little knowledge, very little, you know, right decisions. So that's why you got there. So if you can convince yourself that, yes, this is how I started, and maybe I will use this kind of experience to get better. And so businesses struggle because of these kind of situations and decisions. You can get back if you correct these things, and if you become bold enough to own up and look at how you can get more revenue, more businesses to solve the situation. But if you're picking any loan, which is, or if you're giving any loan to somebody, and which is 5% a month, you have staged it for failure. It will fail. No matter how honest the people are, it will fail. It will fail. And that's why most of these banks are in trouble, because they're doing something that is not sustainable. It is not sustainable, because very few people can borrow at that rate and pay everything back. So don't run away. Stay with it and correct it, and stop making money for this kind of projects. Stop it. You can do a lot with the little you have if you grow yourself. but you cannot go to the next stage if you're not solving this mess. And don't run away from the mess. Own up. Sometimes your partner may run away, but don't run away. Sometimes your friends may run away because you have difficulties. Don't run away. Sometimes the marriage may not even work because of these difficulties. Don't run away. And then you must also create an environment where the voice that you hear are voices that encourage you. It's not the voices that are always looking at the mistakes that you have done and using them against you all the time. That will make you light, that will make you weak. You may not have the confidence to fight back. You know. So create an environment where you can fight and correct and be a man. Stay. Fight. And you can win. Because it's possible. People have been there for 10 times. They got back up and they won. It's courage. It's an expression of courage, and it's an expression of belief, and it's an expression where you have to look into the future with your head up, in spite of the mess that you have created. And don't define yourself by the mess. That's what happens to a lot of business people. When they create all these difficult situations and mistakes and errors, then they define all themselves with that. No, that's somebody like you, somebody who looked like you, who created that mess. Now you have gotten some kind of understanding. Turn that around. Don't use those things to define everything about you. Yeah, because then you can be proud of yourself to say that at least I created this mess and I solved it, and this is the next stage where I'm taking the business to. And one thing about it is that even though it is a very unfortunate situation, nobody should go through that. You become wiser, you become brighter, you become more robust, more strong, and you are able to fight with some kind of tenacity because of what your mistakes sent you through. And maybe next time you'll be more careful and more intelligent with the decisions that you make going forward. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully it helped. Thank you.